Now, opposition parties in KwaZulu-Natal in the legislature will debate the State of the Province address. Premier Sihle Zikalala delivering that address in Pietermaritzburg yesterday. While job creation and eradicating crime were high on his list of priorities, members of the opposition parties say this was not enough. Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan is in Pietermaritzburg for us. Karinda, I suppose no surprise that opposition parties will say it's not enough. You know, in terms of what people were telling you yesterday in the build-up to that address, people in KZN, what they wanted to hear, did the Premier address most of those concerns?
Indeed, some parts of it actually, job creation, especially for youth and women, business investment, especially for women over the age of 35, were high in terms of priorities regarding the State of the Province address. A number of programs being scheduled for the remainder of the year, as well as talks about building and repairing infrastructure for basic services, especially water in the southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. We've seen those issues happen continuously over years now, so it seems at that time the list with some deadlines set in the SOPA for water infrastructure to be repaired there. But like you mentioned, opposition parties, of course, despondent mostly about what was being said. They speak, and today we're going to hear more of their debates going forward. Some of what they're saying, for example, the IFP describes the SOPA as a pipe dream, saying that not a lot was said about corruption within the government. There are currently investigations underway into some KwaZulu-Natal government departments regarding alleged PPE procurement expenditure, corruption there, among a number of issues that are being investigated. The DA says that not enough was said about the consequences and causes of the July unrest. The KZN Premier Sihle Zikalala touched on some economic recovery aspects. He did touch on social cohesion, especially after the Phoenix massacre. But for the DA, they say that they needed to hear more, especially about the apparent factions within the ANC that may have ultimately led, they allege, to what we saw happen in July last year. So these are just some of the topics that may be debated on. The debate today will start at 10 o'clock, and we'll just see basically the KZN Premier, the KwaZulu-Natal government, being challenged on what they have to say and what promises they have for this province in 2022.
So, Karinda, the other issue that I want to talk to you about, and perhaps you can just touch on it very briefly for us. You know, when the President gave his State of the Nation address earlier this month, he put timelines to some of the things that he announced in the SONA. That's something that's very important if we're going to hold our government officials accountable. Did Zikalala do the same thing?
Yes, indeed. For some aspects, we have timelines set down. For example, water provision in the South Coast, there are timelines for infrastructure to be built, but as well as combating crime. This has been something that has been said by the opposition for quite a long time, is that we are seeing high levels of crime in this province, a number of mass shootings, gender-based violence incidents. So what we hear and what the Premier said yesterday is that the province cannot become a field for killings, a killing field. We understand that a summit will be held later this year, towards the middle of the year, to address these issues. Among those that would be part of the summit, of course, to security forces, security details, the SAPS, to understand what is happening in this province, as well as we understand social development part of this, and how to address rising levels of crime. Remember, Michelle, KwaZulu-Natal has taken over from the Western Cape province in terms of being the province with the highest number of murders taking place over the past years, especially because of the mass shootings that we are seeing. So this is some of the deadlines that we also hear, aside from crime, with regards to growing industries, that the KZN government plans to set up agriculture hubs in part of the province. For example, there'll be the red meat district in the red meat hub rather in the Zululand district, the white meat hub in the Umgungundlovu district, a number of grain hubs. So all sectors of agriculture being set up across the province to ensure development with regards to agriculture and smooth transition with regards to the output for the province, also investing in the cannabis industry. But deadlines for this expected for the rest of 2022. Especially important is building houses, housing subsidies, and we hear here eradicating transit camps that were set up in eThekwini. One of the big deadlines there is that by 2025, the 45 transit camps that are in eThekwini that have very dire conditions for the people living there, those should be eradicated by 2025. So some of the deadlines, but we'll hear from today on whether or not the KZN government will be able to meet these deadlines to ultimately see development in this province.
Absolutely. Let's see what the debate around the State of the Province address reveals. Karinda, Jagmohan, thanks very much indeed for that update.